There might have been some people close in the business who had kind of an inclination, but nobody knew the scale of the market that we were throwing up for grabs.
I use this
another product at the head shop.
This is something you and I were talking about out there before, and I think it's a good example. So, because people weren't listening to us out there, I do want to bring it up. But, you know, we live in an increasingly everything or nothing society, which creates very harsh swings. And now with social media being around for the last 18, 19 years, we can all scream opinions about it as well, which, you know, ends up not helping with the dialogue and nuance here. But I look at the example of a perfect example that's different than what we talked about today of like the NIL in college sports. So for years, the NCAA took advantage of these kids and made billions of dollars off the backs of these kids. And, you know, they couldn't even go separate from the university and go make $1 on their name, which was absolutely crazy to me. I fully supported and continue to support athletes being able to do that. All my best friends in college were D1 athletes. I saw what a full-time 60-hour-a-week job this was and what they were doing. And, you know, I just always empathize with that, and I think they should. But these guys at the NCAA fought it for so long and said, no, you know, basically like the old dudes in suits in the smoky-filled room were like, fuck these kids, right?
Well, they were making money.
They were making money.
Yeah.
And then finally, the pressure got so much that they had to let it happen. And what I think happened is Mark Emmert, the head of NCAA at the time when this, I think at the time when this got legalized, was like, okay, you want us to legalize it? Great. We're going to legalize all of it. So now you have, they not only legalized it, but they created it so that there's unlimited transfers. You can transfer on a fucking Tuesday whenever you want. You can transfer God knows how many times across different colleges. They made it so all the boosters at schools can go directly as a financial vehicle through the school to pay the kids directly. And they create, I mean, it's an arms race. Oh, dude, it's 50 times more arms race. Yeah, it's 50 times more unregulated than professional sports. Right? Now, I was just like, let's make this really easy. Kids can go get marketing deals and accept money on the side for their services and leave it away from the universities, which should be great because the universities get to keep a lot of money on their work as well. It's like, this is a nice balance. But no. Those guys had to push it all the way so that now there are people like, oh, maybe we should put this rabbit back in the hat here, you know? And that is what it feels like with things like weed as well, which is I think it's ridiculous that weed is a Schedule I drug and all this shit and the way it was illegal. We've covered it on the show, the way it was illegalized back in the day and what it's like in the purest forms of what it's supposed to be. It's like anti-American. But when you then let it out of the box and you allow criminal enterprises to enter, like the whole point was to get rid of criminal enterprises. You create the greatest legalized criminal enterprise ever to come in here and do things to products that consumers don't even know what's happening. And we are going to talk about that 708 in a minute, which is fucking crazy. It makes me cynical because it's like, can we ever have nice things, or are they always just going to go... You know, that emergent argument. Are they just going to be in the back room and be like, oh, we'll show you legalization. Here you go. Oh, and by the way, how about the timing with all this too? It gets legalized and it's like right in the COVID era. People are home, they're chilling. You know, COVID, Chinese lab, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, no,
absolutely.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, we can circle back around on what happens if they want to use the marijuana distribution network to distribute the next product of the Wuhan Institute for Virology. Why not? Why can't they just switch out the vials of THC juice for, bat juice? Absolutely. They could do that in 2 seconds. Just swap them out of the truck. And we'll go buy them at the tobacco store and be like, I'm going to get high. Everybody's going to be smoking bat juice. What's to stop them from doing that? Well, anyways.
Yeah, that's wow.
I think your point, though, is a valid one that we seem to... It seems like the marijuana legalization was almost like a rubber band that stretched and stretched and stretched and stretched. And we tried to like decriminalize stuff. And now we're trying to do state legalization. And we just don't want people being locked up for 15 years of their life, having a bag of weed. And there's like there's a disproportionate enforcement against minorities. It's just insane. Nobody wants that. Everybody agrees that no one should be going to jail for life for growing a pot plant or doing whatever. But the rubber band snapped. and we went all the way so far over to the other end of the spectrum. And now I think it's safe to say that, at least in the state of Maine, we had no idea what we were getting into. There might have been some people close in the business who had kind of an inclination, but nobody knew the scale of the market that we were throwing up for grabs. We set off just like a pig scramble for $10 billion in revenue. Just, all right, come and get it, whoever wants it. And yeah, people did some crazy things in order to gain market share there. They still do crazy things in order to gain market share there. Like I think the taxed regulated market for cannabis in Maine is somewhere between 500 million and $1 billion. It's way more than that. The black market is huge.
Yeah.
And most of the sales aren't even happening in Maine. And you can just, it's like Oklahoma, there was a congressional testimony about Chinese cannabis networks, hearings that came into existence, by the way, because of my reporting. And the staff interviewed me and decided that some doofus from the Heritage Foundation would be better to interview. I think it was because I was going to talk about the hemp loophole, and there are some Republicans who like the hemp loophole, so they didn't want me.
Why do they like it?
Because their states are hemp states. Their states have hemp businesses, hemp cultivators. Like Kentucky, for example, has lots of hemp cultivators.
Is this what you're talking about?
These were the congressional hearings.
Media advisory chairman Brecheen announces hearing on Chinese criminal networks operating illicit marijuana farms in Oklahoma across the country. Rep. Josh Brecheen, chairman of the subcommittee on oversight investigations accountability, announced a hearing for tomorrow, September 18th, 2025, to examine the national security threats posed by Chinese criminal organizations operating illicit marijuana farms across America, including in Oklahoma. And then Deef is highlighting the infiltration of Chinese criminal courts into Oklahoma's farmland is not just a state problem, it's a national security threat. These illegal marijuana grow operations serve as gateways to a wider enterprise of drug and human trafficking, as well as money laundering. This hearing will shine a light on how criminal networks that are potentially linked to the Chinese Communist Party undermine our national security and facilitate transnational crime. We must take decisive action to address vulnerabilities that could be exploited by our adversaries. And you know what? So it was this one specifically where they went to the heritage guy.
Yes, he was one of their expert witnesses. But I mean, in credit to Representative Brecheen for having this. I know there's tremendous resistance and there's a lot of work that goes into making just like 3 hours or whatever of congressional testimony happen. It's a really big problem in Oklahoma, bigger, I think, even than the problem in Maine. They don't have in Oklahoma someone like me who's, I don't know, like my mom took too much Tylenol or something, and I just became obsessed with this. It was just like, I'm gonna stick with this story. They need
got nicked.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they need someone out there who can.
That's Shane Gillis' line. I like that a lot. Yeah. She's like, I got nicked by the syndrome.
Well, maybe.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, but they estimated that their illicit market in Oklahoma was $150 billion. $150 billion.
In Oklahoma?
Yes. $150 billion. And Oklahoma only has a medicinal marijuana program. They don't have adult use recreation, but they can do the math and they can do the similar things in Oklahoma where you can say, okay, we have X number of licenses out for people to grow this many plants, do some basic math to figure out what the annual output is for all of our licensed marijuana grows. And they realize, oh, holy shit, like we're licensing, 50 times more marijuana production than could ever conceivably be consumed in this state legally if every single adult in this state was a full-time daily heavy marijuana user. I wonder where the rest of that marijuana is going. Well, very obviously out of state. You can infer that crimes are being committed, at least violations of federal marijuana laws.
Infer, you can explicitly understand.
Yeah. I mean, we know they're not like growing at a loss. And, they're not destroying their product because they can't find. They've saturated the market. So it's a very, very big market, and we didn't anticipate how people would take advantage of that. how much money was on the line, the huge appetite for cannabis products. I mean, I think it came out at the hearing that other countries are complaining about the export of American cannabis. America always used to be like importing weed from Mexico or even Canada, but now we're an export country, and states like UK are complaining about American cannabis flooding their streets. And part of that is because we underestimated how quickly appetite for cannabis would grow. Like, I think Super Freakonomics does a interesting podcast. They did one maybe a year ago about, it's like a 3-part series on weed. And we just crossed the point where the number of daily alcohol consumers was lower than the number of daily marijuana consumers.
That doesn't surprise me.
Doesn't surprise me at all either. But I think, if you're an economist trying to forecast out, or a business analyst trying to say like, what's the demand for this product? You can't really take into account very well changing social norms, or like people being okay, vaping at bars, or people just deciding, well, I'm not really going to go out as much because I'm not going to drink. I'm just going to be happy to stay home and play Xbox or something.
I think, but now I almost wonder if you can, just because it's like we're getting into those years of the post-COVID effects, right? So you can scientifically measure some of the psychological effects, which can lead to, let's say, product research being able to spit out like this that maybe you wouldn't have been able to do effectively or even somewhat accurately a decade ago.
Yeah, you've definitely got more. You've got more data, at least, to plug into your model. But I think initially, everyone underestimated. I think the mental model was like, everybody I know who already smokes weed is just going to start smoking weed legally. That wasn't the case. Use has exploded, and the amount of money to be made has exploded. There are products on the market now that were inconceivable to hippies 70 years ago. Like, you'd never be able to tell them, oh, you're going to have this, like, the same amount of weed that would fill up this baggie is going to be in a little cart, and you're just going to be able to vape it, and it's going to taste like watermelons, and it's going to be like the cleanest, happiest high you've ever had.
Happened fast.
Yes. Yeah, it did. There were some people who knew how quickly it would happen. I think, there were people who had been experimenting and knew how.
Who were these people?
Some of the existing scientists, some of the, not scientists, some of the existing marijuana companies and their scientists. It's not like rocket science. You take a whole bunch of weed, you pack it into a big metal or glass tube, and you blow gas through it. Like, I went to high school with people who have like done smaller versions of this back when it was illegal. Take the trimmings rather than the bud from your plant, and they've still got some cannabinoids in them, and most people would just throw that leaf away because you can't like smoke it and get high. But if you pack all that leaf in and you stick a butane refill thing in one end, out the other end comes a little gooey pot tar, cannabis tar, THC oil. So these kind of techniques have been known about. You basically got like, I think there was I forget what movie this was in, but about they make fun of like the utility pothead who can make a bong out of like a snorkel and an avocado. I forget, it might have been from a Chappelle sketch or something, but we basically gave these like engineer stoners unlimited legality to build the biggest pot extraction, pot cultivation setups they possibly could. And they did it very well. Whether it was the grow setups or the high potency extracts, they've got like shatter, vape oil, dabs is another one. I mean, I'm probably like, I probably sound like an old fogey even talking about this, even though I don't feel like that. But there's a lot of these products were inconceivable to like the hippie generation.
Yeah. No, I remember taking a dab for the first time. I entered another fucking stratosphere.
Well, the great thing about a dab is that's the highest you're ever going to be, is right after you're like, whoa, you feel like Hunter Biden hit the crack pipe.
It wasn't even a roller coaster, bro. I was just fucking sitting up on another planet with that stuff. Thank you guys for checking out this clip. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe and hit the like button on this video. It is a huge, huge help. And if you'd like to check out this clip's full podcast episode, that link is in the description below or right here. And finally, you can follow me on Instagram and X by using the links in my description below.